Good morning, everyone. This is James Carpenter with Country Living. What we're doing is we're putting an add-on on the existing building. The red line you see there is the layout. Right now I'm taking the tractor. I'm going to remove the topsoil so that we can backfill. That's a pretty good scoop. Now you can see how right there how I'm following that red line. That's important to me because I want to minimize the amount of yard work that has to be cleaned up when this project is over. So by keeping it tucked in as tight as I can, that's going to assist me later on. Now, this is the what you call the backfill, and these are 57s. Now there's another situation that we found when we were doing this is back in the early 80s, 82 to be precise, the shop was built and the electrical service, I put that in with galvanized burial conduit. At the time, that was the thing. You know, nowadays they got that gray looking plastic conduit. I don't ever see that rotting out. So there's that piece of conduit is that gray plastic electrical stuff. And I'm putting that in there because, like I started to say earlier, the galvanized pipe has deteriorated to the point to where it's not going to last forever, obviously. So future planning is if I ever need to switch out the main service coming into the shop, I can pick it up again just outside of the addition. So that's what's going on there with the gray pipe. These railroad ties are going to be the perimeter of the building. Let me phrase it that way. They're also going to be the forms for the concrete pour. And the railroad ties will remain in place when the project's finished. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the railroad ties down and the gravel. Now we're drilling holes through the railroad ties and driving rebar stakes to hold them in place. Here we're cutting the railroad tie to get the dimensions correct. Now we're putting 2 telephone poles in Now these are those brand new telephone poles I talk about in some of my other videos. Putting one on each corner just for stability. And we're going to level it up and get it tamped in. Now that the railroad ties are in, we're going to backfill some more and get it to the grade we need for the concrete pour. So those railroad ties are basically in the ground. The gravel is stabilizing them on the inside, and the edge of that sod is stabilizing them on the outside. And then they all have two pieces of rebar driven down through them to guarantee they stay in place. Now that electrical pipe we put in earlier, where it stubs out of the building, we took the chainsaw and we cut just a little groove right there with the tip of the chainsaw blade, so that we can find that if we ever do change out that electrical service. So here we got the other telephone pole going in. There we go. So we're going to do a little backfill and some tamping and get that one plumb. And this is the face of the building where the garage door is going to be. Now, as you can see, it's offset from the original building. It looks like about 3.5 feet or so. And that's just for aesthetics, so the building don't look so plain, being flush all the way across the front. Now it's got that little offset. So here's the concrete truck. I did hire a crew to come in and do this for me. So we're putting the plastic down. Now, this is a good question, and obviously at this point it's probably just people's opinion. But they tell me, since they went to this fiber that they put into the concrete, that you do not need to use the wire anymore. So if you don't see any wire down there or any rebar down there, it's because I'm going with the modern day theory that that fiber will do its job. We'll probably find out over the test of time. You see that dirt spot where that fella is right there on the edge? That's where that pipe is stubbed out for the electrical. I backfilled that back edge of those railroad ties, gave it a slight taper away from the building. These guys did a fabulous job on this concrete pour. Turned out really nice. And the concrete was ordered very precise. There was very little left over. Right here I'm having them put the stakes, or should I say stakes or rebar. We put rebar down into the concrete so that when we put the wall plates up we can lock them down. Now right there, that rectangle, they're going to cut out, you cut out about an inch deep, and what you have there is like a trough, so when the garage door is completely down, water cannot run underneath it into the garage. And you can see the stakes. I put black tape on them to ensure that no raw concrete got on them, and when it come time to put the nuts on, it would be a big hassle for us. So now they're going to saw the concrete. This is the following day. I like the way they got that laser set up. Those lines you see on the concrete generated by a laser. And then they took that board, they took that saw and just used the board as an edge line, and they did a fantastic job. Now here, the bottom plate is obviously pressure treated. And then I took the time to lock it all in with another plate on top of that. And I notched out for each 4x4 stud. Right here I'm cutting out a little spot. We had to move an air conditioning unit out of the way to do this add-on. It was no longer effective, so it didn't matter. But that pad right there is what the air conditioner sat on, so I'm using that as a step for the man door for the new garage. Here I'm just unloading lumber from the lumber yard. So now we're putting the purlins, I believe they're called. Excuse me. They're spaced every 2 feet. They're the nailers for the metal when it goes on. Now this pole stuck out just a little bit too much. So I've got the young man with the red hat on. He's watching the line that I drew on the other side, and I'm watching the line on the side that I'm cutting on, just to ensure that we get a good square cut. Also gave us a flat surface to mount all the framing to. That's what it looks like cut. So now we're starting to put the rafters up. There was a section of metal that ran across the top there. Years ago when that building was put in, those were skylight panels. At some point I took those out and I put metal in there, just because that fiberglass panels, they start to decay over time. So here we're putting big like timber wolf type screws one each, and then there's 2 framing screws in each one, so I feel they're pretty secure. Cutting out a notch for a beam that we're going to put in. That's a pressure treated 4x6 beam, notched into the telephone pole and then tied into the other framing. Now that's out there to support that overhang that was 3.5, 4 feet that we talked about earlier. Okay, so we're going to look at some of the framing. There's blocks between each one. That's obviously overkill. The studs are 2 foot on center. They're 4x4s. If they look a little weathered, it's because I got them through my Habitat for Humanity connection, and they had been stored outside for a little while, and they started to go south, but not far enough south that they weren't usable. That shows you how those notches I cut locks that in at the bottom really well, along with the fasteners we used to tie it all in. And those posts on the side, they go all the way up and support the metal that way. Alright, so now we're putting the plywood up on the face of the building. Alright, that green looking wood, that's privacy fence wood. That spot right there that I got my hand on, we ended up putting another board in there so that you didn't see those little edges sticking out. That's how the overhang turned out. This is the inside under construction. I will say this, when I put that insulation up, I was using one of them staplers that you just kind of hit it and put the staple in. I hit my thumb 2 different times, and I'll tell you what, that hurt. Fortunately, the staple didn't come out, but just the impact. This is my garage door, guys. They're out of local town here. They do all my garage doors. That's an insulated garage door. That white around the garage door, that's actually styrofoam. I got that from Habitat. I thought that would be a nice touch. So there's the garage door in operation. The electrical conduit, I didn't put a lot of receptacles in there because basically this is just a parking garage. But it comes out of the building there from the panel and goes into this black box, which has the electric vehicle charger inside. So I just let the cat out of the bag. The garage is being built for a a new EV. That's a 1/2-inch plywood on all the walls, painted gray. This is what it looks like finished. Got the little Tesla emblem on the garage. Now you know what type of EV it is. Got the man door. Got the metal on the sides, soffits, everything looking good. This little tower back here, I put that in. Eventually I will take the gutters and downspouts and run them into that and have rainwater for watering plants. Now there's those railroad ties that go all the way around the building. Now that comes in handy too when I mow, because I can run the mower deck just over those and get a good flush cut. Alright, we're going to do a final walkthrough and then the video is going to come to an end. I want to thank everyone for taking time to watch my videos. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed me as a person, then subscribe and hit that like button for me. And there it is. We're closing it up for the final time. The Tesla has a home.